Hi everyone, it's Neve here and welcome to the Scrap FX YouTube channel. Today we're going to be making a quick art journal page called Love Is. So this is an art journal page in my Small Dilutions journal. I've just painted the background with a selection of different pink colours. It was a use it up page that I had. I was using up extra paint that I had left over on my palette from another project I was doing. So this is a combination of some of the new products from Scrap FX for February and some of the much older pieces too, which I've just acquired. This stamp is one of the older stamps. I'm a real fan of the foam stamps. I love how they retain ink and you can get multiple impressions from them. Now, I did make a mistake when I was doing this page because I used the Distress Oxide inks. And I have a love-hate relationship with these inks. I love when you first stamp them on because they've just got such a beautiful colour. But the whole point of these stamps are that they oxidize. So they get this sort of cloudy, chalky finish to them. And on this page, I'd used the Dilutions paint in the background. And it has a gloss finish or a semi-gloss finish. And the Oxide inks really just didn't dry them. They really need a porous surface to go into to dry, which frustrated me. And you'll see while I'm doing my journaling at the end, it actually starts to rub some of the ink off, which I was getting really annoyed with. So if you've got some, either use some matte paint in the background and your Distress Oxides, or maybe use an archival ink in different colours to do this. Or you could roll, in actual fact, rolling over acrylic paint would probably be the best alternative to do this. So just be warned, they are great. They're great inks, but just not for doing this technique. I think if I did it in the future, I'd choose something else. So these are two of the masks from Scrap FX. They're great value because they not only come with the mask, but you get the stencil as well. The stencil I'm using at the moment, or going to be using, is a new stencil for this month, which is the hearts. And I decided I wanted to colorize my texture paste. Now this is the first for me, I've never done it before, so this is a bit of an experiment. I think I put in too much ink because it got a funny texture to it. It still worked okay, but it was just a bit goopy. So I think if you're going to do this, put in a little bit of coloured ink and then put in some more. So I'm putting over the top and spreading out. Now the texture paste that I'm using is the fluffy texture paste from the Crafters Workshop. It's a lot fluffier than some of the other texture pastes you get, and it dries a lot quicker too. It took a little bit longer with this one because obviously I'd added the extra liquid in. Now because I had some extra texture paste left over, I didn't want to waste it, so I had some scrap paper sitting next to me and I just scraped it through until I'd finished it all onto my different pieces of paper. So I'll tear these up in future projects to do something with them. You can see how dirty my background is because I've been doing a lot of gluing on this page too, so please excuse that. I do like though that with this glass mat that you can sort of just scrape it off or wipe it down with a wet wipe, and it does mostly get it clean again. The bits you can see in the background are dried on not modelling paste, gel medium, so it takes a little bit longer for it to come off. So with the pieces that I've done now, I'm just going to set those aside. You can see I'm actually cleaning my stencils, which I don't often do. The reason I'm doing that is because I was using texture paste with them. So if you don't want lumps and bumps in your stencils, it is a really good idea to clean them off. Just a wet wipe over the top and drying them off is fine. If I use acrylic paints or inks on them, I don't tend to clean my stencils. It's just totally personal preference. So I've just applied the heat gun to the embossing or the modelling paste just to make sure it's dried. It doesn't need to be dry the whole way through, just as long as the top's dry enough that when you put some paint over the top it's not going to move, and obviously leaving it overnight will make sure it's all dry. So to do this page, I wanted to do a reductive painting. So I've done a busy background and I want to get rid of some of that busy background by putting some black paint over it. So I'm just using some black gesso, going around my masked image. And with my sponge, I'm trying to give the edges a soft edge so it doesn't just look like it finishes, that it kind of blends into the background. And doing the same on the left hand side with the male figure. Now this black ink is, or black gesso, sorry, is a very matte finish, and you'll notice I use the distress inks over the top again, and you'll notice the difference with how they look on the matte ink as opposed to that glossy ink or glossy paint in the background. I'm going back in again with this honeycomb stamp, which I absolutely adore. It's very, very versatile and can be used for anything. And I've stamped over the black, but I'm also stamping over the pink area as well, just to blend it into the background. Now you can kind of see where my hand has been and started to smudge the stuff on the pink background. So you can kind of see what I'm talking about. I really love, however, with this technique that by masking out your image with black, whatever you have inside really pops. So I love how those two figures just really blend in with the background. So what I was looking for in the middle was, I decided I wanted to put some journaling. Now for this I could have put any sort of journaling. I decided I wanted to put some quotes, so I went to Pinterest and looked up some love quotes and put those into my journaling in the middle. I'm using the Foodball pen, which again probably wasn't the best pen to work on this surface. They're fabulous pens. I love the nib on this pen. It takes a little while to dry though. It's quite a glossy ink, and it will take a little while to dry. So just be aware with that. Probably using something that's a little bit more permanent, a Copic black marker for example, you could get a similar effect, and you would know it was dry as soon as you put it down. So you can see underneath my hand where it's smudging. Now you could stop that by putting a little piece of paper there, and that should stop that. So I'm showing you all the wrong ways to do it, and hopefully you'll learn from that and do all the right ways and have a fabulous piece of artwork that doesn't have smudges and bits and pieces on it. However, I was really happy with how this came together, and it really was just playing around and seeing what could happen. The other issue I had when I was writing out this quote was I got a little bit distracted and I started writing over and over again, and I missed lines and did all sorts of things, so I'm trying to fix it up there, which is why there was a big pause there for a moment. It was also me perhaps swearing to myself where I saw I'd smudged the ink. So just did a full disclosure of what was really happening. So now I'm going in with some of the Inca Gold to put over the texture paste, which seems a little bit redundant in the fact that I coloured my texture paste to stand out. That's just an example of, you know, when I'm doing an art journal page, I'm not necessarily thinking ahead. I'm not sure where it's going. So when I did this, I thought the pink would stand out. It didn't. I decided to put the black over the top. When I did that, I noticed that my heights disappeared, so I wanted to put something over the top of the heights. I just finished off this page by putting the white Posca paint pen over the top and writing "Love Is." And that's this page finished. It was a simple page. It was lots of fun to do, to play around with techniques and having fun with all the Scrap FX products. And it was great for a use it up page. I had that paint page sitting in my journal and it needed to be used up, so that's what I decided to do. I hope that this inspires you to go ahead and do something in your art journal. Any products that I've used in this video you'll see linked below in the blog post to this video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, see you later.